Okay, then that should work. So thank you for letting me know that the sound doesn't work. So that should work now. Okay, then that should work. So thank you for letting me know that the sound doesn't
Hi,
work. So
Senija.
that should work now. Thank you for being here. Yeah, and letting me know. So always let me know. So thank you if the video is weird or
Okay,
sound.
then that should work. So thank
thanks.
you for letting me know that the
Okay.
sound doesn't
Hi,
work. So
Senija.
that should work
Thank
now.
you for being here. Yeah, and letting me know. So always let me know. So thank you if the video is weird or
Okay.
okay. So on okay, so it looks like we're good. Just checking my phone, checking to see that we're good. Welcome. Okay, so it looks like we're good. Okay, so it looks like there's a little, there's an overlap in the audio. And
Welcome.
but it looks like it's settled down. So there wasn't
So it looks
like a loop, but actually
Okay,
that
so it looks like there's a little.
that's exactly exactly how 3D works is the looping. So the sound and how my voice was looping when this live started, that is exactly 3D. So 3D loops everything. So everything goes over and over and over and over and over again. And we reincarnate with the same loops, the same people, the same problems over and over and over again. That's kind of like the design of 3D. And so I always find like what happens on the lives or what's happening here is also what represents what happens on 3D. So a lot of people are confused, like what's 5D, what's 4D, what's 3D? So 3D is the material plane. And the material plane is kind of created. So the material plane, the 3D, and why everybody has been having so much trouble with 3D for 2000 years around is all of the interference. There's like overlays, there's installations. So we're just releasing them as we name them. And the interference is kind of like a frequency interference. And so 3D, they need you to stay very low. They need you to stay in like fear, shame, anger, guilt is a big one. And they need you to kind of keep looping in that. So say if something happens, you default to shame, or you default to sadness, or you default to anger, or you default to guilt. And so that is basically 3D. So 3D is to keep you in a very low vibration all the time. And then 4D, it's more the electrical, like interference with the electrical field. So like the 5G towers, the 4G towers, the 3G towers, the like us using our phones and technology. And so then the interference will amplify actually in 4D, and that's where people get stuck. And then they default, and I've done it too, and then you default back to 3D because the interference in 4D is so intense. But the interference is coming from 4D because that's where the interference is coming from for 3D. But once you land and you're secure and stable in 5D, then you're not going to have that interference isn't going to be affecting you. And that's why they amplify everything so much once you're in 4D. So people get confused. They think, well, I must be doing something wrong because it's worse. How can 4D be? I thought I was like anchoring into 5D, but 4D is even worse than 3D. And yeah, they do amplify it because they want you to stay in that low vibration. And you can call them the architects, the controllers, they hate that word. We can call them the little stinkers because they, some people call them the fallen angels. And why they're called the fallen angels is they came from a high vibration, just like you have. If you're a heart-based being, you have come from source, from God, and then incarnated in a 3D body. So if you don't believe in God, it's the source of all that there is. And you've come in to help and then awaken in a 3D body with source consciousness. But what happens is they've gone so far away, let's call them the one percenters. So the people that control all the money, all the systems, like the technology, they're like the same group. Basically, they have different names, but they're the same group and it's the same vibration. They've gone so far away from source because of their own free will choice that they emanate very little light, like 1% light, and source consciousness is 1,000 on the Dr. Hawkins scale. And the heart-based consciousness, 5D, is 500. But if you're in shame, guilt, and fear, you're in the low, like, shame is like 15% in terms of the light. So it's a very low vibration. So they need you to go as low as 1% like they are, but it's pretty impossible for a heart-based being to go that low to 1% because you usually will hit shame, guilt, and fear and then do something to shift it. So that's kind of how it works. And then once you get out of 3D and kind of clear the interference, like it's an energy clearing and that consistent clearing, and then you get to 4D and then it amplifies, but it's not to scare you because you can clear all of everything that they throw at you, you can clear. When you're connected to source, everything that is here that is interference, you can clear with your higher self. You don't need me, you don't need a practitioner, you don't need a type of energy work. And so everything I offer for free on YouTube. And then if you want one-on-one sessions, you can come and have one-on-one sessions. So, but it's basically a decree is your sovereignty. You're energetically sovereign, saying this does not belong to me and I want it removed. Nobody is saying it for you. You're declaring it and you're putting your foot down and you're not changing your mind. It's signed, sealed, and delivered. And it's actually the most powerful thing that you can do is claiming technology in source's name and also claiming yourself in source's name, like claiming your body in source's name. All right. Okay, so welcome. So seer and higher self. So as a seer, I go through presence through the heart, and then we kind of go into whatever dimension your higher self needs in order to see, to answer questions. I think I need some water. I'm drinking some ginger tea. Okay. So Senija has a question. So Senija, she, her, 1973. So thanks, Senija. Exactly. I just need your first name, your pronouns, your preferred pronouns, and the year that you're born. Senija says, I'll have a QHHT session this week. I had them before, but wasn't able to go deep or connect to SC. Okay. And then Senija's next question is, what can I do to prepare for QHHT session and clear the blockages? Many blessings. Okay, thanks, Senija. This is a really good question. So I've done about 90 sessions of QHHT in the last 2 years. And then I also did another type of quantum hypnosis. So QHHT is Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, and it was designed and created by Dolores Cannon. And now her daughter, Julia Cannon, runs it. And I think Dolores Cannon died in 2014 or 2015. I'm not sure. I actually can't remember the date. So what is really interesting, so I did many sessions, so I did do a deep dive. So what Senija is saying is that she has done a session before, but she wasn't able to go deep or connect to the SEs. And I say, that's really good. Because it shows actually, Senija, that your higher self is very protective of you and blocked the SCs. And so the SCs, Dolores Cannon said she didn't know what to call the SCs. So she called them the SCs, which is the subconscious. So what happens in a QHHT session is that you go into hypnosis, the theta brain state, which I love. I love the theta brain state. And then, okay, so Senija said she had her first session in October 2014. Okay, so you get guided into the, so it's pretty relaxed, right? So you're guided into the, theta brain state, which can be very relaxing. And then that's for the first hour. And so your higher self is kind of showing you scenes that are important for your life now. And that's what is really important to know is, so we were told in our training that when you can't talk to the SEs, that it is the ego blocking, or there's like a block to the higher self. The SCs are not the higher self, right? So Dolores wasn't naive when she called them the SEs. Like, she did this for over 45 years. I learned so much in 2 years doing 90 sessions, so I can't imagine what I would learn in 45 years. But I have different kinds of training. I have mediumship training. I have Akashic records, clearing our records. I have teacher of presence with Eckhart Tolle, and he was oh, I see. Senija is just correcting me, saying that Dolores Cannon passed away in 2014 in October. That's not when her session was. Okay, thanks, Senija. Thank you. Okay, so when you go into hypnosis or you do any kind of like plant medicine or any kind of journeys, it's really important that you set your intention first with your higher self, that your higher self is in charge. So if I was doing a QHHT session, which I wouldn't in the present time, I wouldn't myself. But if I was already planning on doing it, and if I was going to do a session, I would say to the practitioner that I do not want you to call in the SCs. I only want to talk to my higher self. And if the practitioner says no, they have to use the words SC, I wouldn't do it. That is my opinion. But we're going to talk to Senija's higher self to see what Senija's higher self says. But the thing is, when you go into the quantum field and you're in that relaxed theta brain state, your body is relaxed, and your body actually is what is giving you the clues if something is wrong. And so what I've seen in many sessions, and at least in Beyond Quantum Hypnosis, BQH was Candace, and she broke away from Dolores Cannon, but she started the training with QHHT and did many, many, many sessions and years with QHHT. And she basically said, no, there is interference that comes in. There are other energies, or you can call them entities, that come in. How do we decipher? And Dolores Cannon said, no, there are none. There is no interference. It's only the SCs. But who are the SCs? She said, well, it's the greatest power in the universe, the SCs. They're higher than the ascended masters. So who are the ascended masters? So examples like Jesus is an ascended master. So Yeshua, Mother Mary, Miriam is an ascended master. Kuan Yin is an ascended master. Buddha is an ascended master. So what is an ascended master? They come in a high vibration consciousness, come into a 3D body and awaken in a 3D body, and they can go all the way to 9D consciousness on Earth. So they're anchoring a frequency, a high frequency of consciousness on Earth. Right? So Senija is saying she agrees that there are different SCs coming through. But so when you're calling in the SCs, who are the SCs? Right? And they're saying, well, they're more powerful than guides. They're more powerful than the ascended masters. Okay, but the ascended masters actually helped us figure out the 3D material world and ascend from the 3D material world. So they're actually very important. And guides of unconditional love, your higher self might come from the seraphim, which is 24D, and then their source, or the cherubim, which are like, I don't know, 23D. And so there's lots of people that are coming from higher dimensions, coming into a 3D body. Like Mother Mary, Miriam, is a seraphim. So she came from 24D, incarnated in a 3D body with a 9D consciousness to be able to give birth to a 7D child. 7D child was Jesus, Yeshua, incarnated in a human 3D body, so that we would know how to do it as well. They were way showers, they were teachers, they were guides. So who are these SEs that are bigger and better than guides of unconditional love, than our higher selves? Like, our higher selves are aligned to source. Like, our higher selves, we go deep into our hearts. The hearts are the hardest to awaken on Earth, which is 5D. So we're going through the heart. We're going into the inner body. The inner body is our compass. Our inner body is telling us what is going on. If we are around somebody that is siphoning our energy, we can break out in hives. We can start coughing. We start feeling sick in our stomach because something is interfering with us on an energy level, on an etheric level. But our body is not tricked. Our body will tell us there's something going on here. There's something wrong here. So to me, your Senija is saying, she couldn't connect with the SCs. To me, when she had a QHHT session, and having done, I'm a level 2 QHHT practitioner, and I asked to be removed. I don't want to be a QHHT practitioner. I learned a lot, but I do not want to practice it. And so when somebody says, they couldn't connect with the SCs, I think, wow, your higher self is powerful. Your higher self took over. Your higher self was the boss in that moment. In a moment that you were vulnerable, your higher self kicked their ass. Your higher self stepped in and said, not on my watch. Don't you dare. Right? So they either put you to sleep, or, your higher self will say, your higher self will also say, take the person out, basically, like come out of the hypnosis. So, and especially people like, I had high vibration, I had clients. So most of the people that I saw, their higher selves are high dimensional beings. They're incarnated archangels, incarnated, from the angelic collective, incarnated seraphim, and they've had like, big kind of jobs on Earth. And then in this life, we're here to heal everything and clear all the interference that we can, and to stabilize in 5D consciousness, which actually then, just from emitting and stabilizing in 5D, you're helping, at least 10,000 people or up to 100,000 by just staying in your frequency of unconditional love in the 5D frequency. So Senija said that she's a level 2 as well. And yeah, like exactly. So when you've done the training, so the process, kind of like how the behind the scenes, and then of course you've had sessions, or you've had one session, I think you said. Yeah, right. You had one session. Okay, Senija had one session. So this is what kind of like I've discovered in the last 2 years. And the more I connected with the higher self, more connected to source, mirroring source, then the information started coming through the clients. So mostly what we're doing is we're here to clear interference. And so when you are in the theta brain in a hypnosis state, the primary tool of discernment is the body. The body tells the truth. There's something around that is interfering. There's something I don't like. There's something happening. But when your body is in that relaxed theta state, your body is the main instrument, and it is also reduced. So it'd be like having your intuition and the dial of your intuition being turned down, instead of 100, turned down to 10. Right? So like Dolores Cannon would say, oh, there's there's no interference that comes in. It's like, yeah, I had clients. I saw lots of things happen, and I'm super, like, I prepare the space ahead of time. I do not rush the interview. I took my time, and I and there's still interference because your body is your main instrument, and that's showing that to me is what I realized, and what made me, based on my experience and based on the clients and based on, you start asking questions, like one client said, well, how do you know this isn't a cult? And I was like, yeah, good question. Right? We're all here, yeah. But who's really questioned the induction, and whereas the BQH, Beyond Quantum Hypnosis, Candace's method, she said you can change the induction. So if something doesn't feel right or something isn't comfortable, you can change it. And then she said, when the person is in the induction and you hear like a different voice or something shifts or something changes, you can ask for clarity, ask like, who am I speaking to? But we're kind of told, the SEs are like gods, and, we have to ask them permission. But isn't that the clue? Like, why are we asking permission to speak to the SEs? Like, that's the clue. Like, your higher self is you. Like, you don't need permission to speak to you, and you don't need permission to speak to source, because you're a source emanated heart-based being. And so at the beginning, your higher self is showing you different scenes, but nobody called in the higher self. You just went into the induction, into the story, and it guided you to somewhere. And then usually you end up, in a scene of some sort. So it can be a past life or any time, space, it can be on Earth or in any kind of dimension. And then halfway through, we stop and we ask, we ask permission to speak to the SEs. So who was speaking for the first hour? Like who was talking, right? You were talking. Your higher self was talking. That's, to me, that blew me away when I realized that. I was like, whoa, like, wait a minute. Like, okay, we're asking permission to speak to the SEs, but who was talking for the first hour? Yeah, your higher self, right? And then there's the switch, right? So there's the 80% true and then the 20% distortion. Because if it was the other way, like my friend, that she does quantum hypnosis, she said, well, that's not bad. 20% distortion is not bad. And I'm like, okay, that's like saying, okay, out of a 10-hour day, 2 hours of your day is full of distortion. Like you could go crazy with 2 hours of distortion. Like say you're with a partner and they're 80% of the time really good and really nice. And then 20% just totally out of their minds, like abusing you. Like, are you really going to survive that 20% because they're 80% being like a good human being? No. And who would stick around if it was 100% horrible? We're not that dumb. We're not dumb. Like, we're not dumb. They know they can't be that obvious. So to me, if you're going into quantum hypnosis, your body is the key. Your body is the golden key. And the golden key is what is compromised in hypnosis. And so like in this work, your eyes are open, my eyes are open. We're talking about this with our higher selves and our eyes open. Right? So, and I had, people that are seers that were clients, and they had really good questions, and they're the ones that actually made me think about, because I'm such a good student and I love following the rules. Like empaths love following the rules. They love being good, And it's like, yeah, ask questions though, but as soon as you start asking questions, things start falling apart. Right? So another part of the induction is to put everybody into a triangle of, and I used to say it, I used to think, wow, like it's really good. So you put the person in a triangle, what is it, like of white light, like a pyramid of white light, right? Totally protective, totally secure. But what are we learning about the white light? The white light is like the false light. Like that has been that's been part of the 20% in deception. Because source's light is like an emanated golden sun light, right? Yeah, Senija's saying the white pyramid. Yeah, the white pyramid of white light. So at the beginning, you're kind of put in a container, but why not just be like with your higher self? Because your higher self actually is the most protection. Like in this work, we're talking to our higher selves, right? We're talking to our higher selves, and our higher selves are like in charge, right? Because we are connecting to source. So why aren't we connecting to source? And then you can say, oh, well, maybe, Dolores Cannon didn't know in the times that she created it. She did it for 45 years and then she died in 2014. And it's like, she's not naive. None of the spiritual teachers that are mega famous are naive, right? So like, what does Eckhart do? He points you to eyes open. He points you inside to your heart. to presence, divine presence, into the inner body. And that's a wrap. That's Eckhart. That if you don't know anything about him, the Cole's notes, the quick notes, that's all he's doing. He's guiding you back into your heart and then guiding you into the inner body. And then all the answers come through presence. So there's a yeah, so there's a few comments. So Senija said, great information, Elaine. So grateful. So thank you, Senija. So a little angel, which that's probably her higher self. And then, you know, the a couple emojis, a yellow heart and a smiley face, like a heart, hug kind of heart. And then Senija said, with a white pyramid of white light. And then she didn't know that the white light is distortion. And so the white light is kind of like the false light. So that's kind of how we've gotten tricked into reincarnation, like into karmic loops. So we die, and then you know, Dolores says, oh, well, you know, and then you die, and then you know, your guides appear, and then they say, oh, well, what lessons did you learn, or what lessons, and what did you need to know in that life? And I thought, well, like, that's great, right? But then we're told to redo it, do it better, to come back and do the lessons with the same people and get it right, do it better. Learn more lessons, learn the purpose. And the purpose is to connect to your higher self and connect to source, connecting to the inner body, using the body as a compass. Because when we're in, say we're in a high dimension, say there was like a fallen angel, and the fallen angel was from the cherubim. The cherubim say they're 23D. That would be like where Archangel Michael is from, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Gabriel. Okay, so say they fell from consciousness and they incarnated into a 3D body. The only way, well, not the only way, but the fastest way to see what is happening is if you have a body and you can see what interference is happening with you in terms of your connection to source and your connection to your higher self. And the body actually will help. But if you're like in 23D and you fell to like, say, 4D and you're not in a body, it might be really confusing to know where you are and what you're doing. The body will actually give you the clues in order to get out of these loops, to get out of that false light. And that's why, you know, we always say like unconditional love, like guides of unconditional love, angels of unconditional love, a love with no conditions. Because the 4D makers, we can also call them the makers, the little stinkers, you always owe something. They will give you all these riches, but you owe them something, and that something is your source spark. Some people can call that your soul. Like you owe them in some distant future time. You know, they will give you fame, they will give you money, right? Because 3D is the material world, but you will owe them something in the future, right? It's future oriented, where consciousness is presence in this body now. In this body now matters the most. And if the body doesn't agree, the answer is no, period. And we know right away when our gut says no way, right? Even when you're talking to somebody, it's a no. And I would say most of my sessions, of the 90 QHHT sessions, what the people loved the most was our conversations. The beginning, when we talked before the hypnosis, and they always said they received a lot of answers in the time that we talked. But when we were talking, I was sitting in one chair and they were sitting in another chair. We were face to face. We had our eyes open. We had some snacks. We had some tea, and we took our time. Senija says the Heart Math Institute is good too. I don't know. Actually, I don't know them. I'll look into it, but thank you. And then Senija says, I was always wondering about reincarnating and suffering again and again to pay karma. Yes, Senija, exactly, right? Your higher self that would block the SCs in quantum hypnosis. Of course, you're asking that question, right? Like, what is going on? Like, why am I reincarnating over and over and over again with the same dysfunctional people? Like, I reincarnated in a loop for 4 lifetimes, and it didn't get better in any lifetime. And so the trick is to tell you, oh, well, it's the recursion loop, the do-over. Oh, do it again. Come back with these, the dark triad again, and see if you can work it out. Meanwhile, you're totally getting decimated by these people. They're fine. They have all the money. They're doing fine, and you're just like totally scrambled and overwhelmed, ganged up on, ostracized, the black sheep, ganged up on. And you're like, what is going on? Like, this is happening again and again and again, and I know my past lives pretty much. I know them through quantum hypnosis. I learned some through beyond quantum hypnosis. I learned some from seers that are really good seers, because some things I needed to learn through my dreams, through experience. Sometimes I needed somebody just to tell me about it, because I feel like my higher self, if I went into hypnosis, it would have been too unsafe. I was going to use the word dangerous, but I thought I don't want to use like alarming language, but that was the first word that was going to come out of my mouth. If my higher self felt it was not safe to bring through that information in that induction, then I learned it either from somebody else that was, a trusted seer, or I would do beyond quantum hypnosis with Mary, because Mary is also a BQH practitioner, and we both actually prefer that method. But now she still does it. But now I decided I unless I know the person, but to me, there's no reason to go into hypnosis to get answers, because the answers are going to come forward. Everything you need to know, your higher self is going to make sure you know that information. Okay, so we talked about that, the reincarnating and the suffering and the paying karma. So that to me is part of the false grid. It's part of the installation. It's, I can see why I lit a candle today. This is a big topic. I've actually had people reach out for quantum hypnosis, and I have to tell them that I don't do it anymore, and then explain why. Like, because I did, I don't know, like 100 videos on quantum hypnosis. I did like FAQs on quantum hypnosis. I did like so many. That's, where I started. I started with Reiki, and then presence, like Eckhart Tolle's presence, teacher trainer for presence, and then quantum hypnosis in 2023. So yeah, but even in this work, like you're shifting and changing, basically removing all interference. And so in moving all interference, like my higher self came in 2025 and said, no more QHHT, like no more hypnosis, no more eyes closed, no more going into another realm, no more SEs. They shut it down. And I was like, no, what do you mean? I wasn't ready. And I haven't had, I haven't done a session since. Like once my higher self came in and said, like, no more, and this is why, all the things that I had been learning in the 3 years all like connected basically and amplified. So I would just say that okay, I feel like that I said a lot. Okay. Yeah, and Senija says that her clients say the same, that they get a lot out of the interview part of the QHHT. But that interview part is exactly Eckhart's work. Like when I awakened the first time in 1997 to 2000, when Eckhart was my one-to-one teacher. So he sat in a chair and I sat in a chair. And I would say, Eckhart, this happened and that happened. I was like 27 and that and that. And then he was like, very good, very good, very good. But as soon as the ego came in, he would say, that's the ego. That would be the only time he corrected me. So with eyes open, your body is receiving the information and then seeing what feels true or not true. And like our body is what we're constantly told in the spiritual world, the spiritual teachers that came before us, they're constantly telling us that the body is the interference and we need to ascend out of the body. Well, when we're our higher selves in whatever dimension our higher selves are, we are not in the body. So we actually spend a lot of time not in the body. Like I spend most of my time not in a 3D body, right? So, but when we're here in a 3D body, this body is like the golden key because the body will actually tell us what is going on and what interference is happening. I had one guy that some other voice came in and I said, who's this? And he's like, don't worry about it. You don't need to know. It's like, yeah, I do. The person's in hypnosis and I'm in charge. I definitely need to know, but all I got was that the tone was different and the way that the voice came through was aggressive, domineering, telling me what to do. And I was like, that's not how the higher self speaks. That's how the ego speaks. That's how the installation speaks. Controlling, domineering, aggressive, my way or the highway, recursion and loops. But the higher self is like, okay, let's take a look at what's going on and let's take our time. The ego is fast, 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 be famous, be like extraordinary, be like bigger than the universe. That's the ego. Big, 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 flash, 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 right? And then you'll hear, other people and they're like talking fast and it's like all about the galactic this and the galactic that. And it's like, okay, but where are you? You're in a 3D body. And if you are in a 3D body, you are suffering. And so how do you end your suffering, right? That is what we're asking ourselves. How do we awaken out of our suffering? And how do we heal our bodies? So, oh, Senija, what did you write? Senija wrote, yeah, her clients said that they get a lot out of the interview part of QHHT as well. And then Senija also said she's not sure if that's true what my guides said. Can you clarify what you mean by that? And then Senija says, no wonder I was exhausted from doing QHHT sessions. Yes, and that's the body telling the truth. I would be down for 2 days, exhausted after doing a QHHT session. And I also saw that as soon as I started doing, most of the sessions were in 2024 and 2025, I also aged dramatically because my body, it felt like all of the energy was being siphoned out of the body. And it took a while for me to see, what was going on. So, but that's actually a really good clue, right? Is how do you feel, not just the client, but how do you feel as the practitioner? Usually for me, I would feel like a real high, like, oh, that felt so amazing. We got such amazing information, but then my body would crash for 2 days. So your energy, you know, will tell you a lot. It's a really big clue. So, okay, let's take a minute. Okay, let's just check in and see if there's. Whew. It's a lot because we're wanting healing. We're wanting the suffering to end. We're wanting our anxiety to calm down. We want our bodies to heal. And that's the other thing, like there's this like awakening is like fantastical. It's like intense, right? Like you're seeing and acknowledging everything that you haven't wanted to see and acknowledge in order to become conscious. Okay, so let's just take a look at the chat again. So Senija's saying, great question, Elaine. Like, how do we end suffering and heal ourselves and our bodies? Yeah, that is. I had this dream this morning, and it's not a. Whoops, hold on. Oh, it looked like there was a bit of a lag there, but it looks like it's stabilized. So thank you. I claim Zoom in source's name. I claim YouTube in source's name. So what we're talking about is pretty intense, right? Because we're talking about interference. We're talking about clearing interference. We're talking about karma. We're talking about looping. We're talking about, the hypnosis state. Is it secure? Is it safe? So the fastest way I have found to heal our bodies is by talking to our higher selves to see what interference is happening with our higher selves. So what I saw this morning before I woke up is there was this tick, like a tick, Lyme disease, how, it attaches usually to your crown and then kind of like sucks the blood out of your head and then puts something in your nervous system. And then you end up having like kind of like an autoimmune disease or an autoimmune response. So what I saw was like this 80-pound, like the size of a small child tick. And I thought, and I woke up and what came through right away was that is how much energy the little stinkers or the 4D controllers, that is how much energy they need from each light being or empath sensitive starseed light worker. They need 80% of our energy going to them. And that's basically 3D. And then for us in 3D is we just need to remove everything that is not source, everything that is not our higher self. We just remove it, but we remove it with our own sovereignty just by saying, no, you do not have my consent. Like, to me, your higher self is brilliant because your higher self said no to the SEs. My human self, I was chatting with the SEs. I was joking with the SEs. Like, I just thought, wow, what great rapport. Dumb, super dumb, right? It took me so long to find out what the discernment was. Like, hey, wait a minute, and with clients, like people coming from sessions and also me doing sessions with other practitioners, that's a strong mirror. And when you have that kind of mirror, you can see what is going on with another mirror. Another human being that's a light being is a mirror. And that's why this work is so important, that we're doing this together, because Senija's questions were my questions. Senija's background is my background. We both have been trained in QHHT. We both have had sessions on ourselves. We've both done other sessions with other people, right? So now we're talking about, okay, what's working and what's not working. And if it's not working, what kind of questions are we asking? What doesn't fit? What doesn't feel true? Because we're not here to give anybody the answers. We're just saying, okay, this is my experience. This was my experience as a QHHT practitioner. This is the questions I asked myself. And then these are the reasons why I stopped practicing QHHT. So, let's see. And then Senija says, I was told that by a psychic that the injury was from, I'm just going to just ask to stabilize the field. Okay, so there was a little bit of interference there. So just ask source to stabilize the internet, the Wi-Fi, the transmission. So we claim this transmission in source's name. Okay, so Senija said, I was told by a psychic that the injury was from guides to start to do energy work. And that's why I chose QHHT, but not sure if the psychic was correct. Right. Yeah, I mean, because you're obviously, Senija, you're obviously like like a helper, like an empath, like a sensitive, right? So so we're always looking for modalities, what can be helpful, what what can we do in service to source? That you're here in service, that you're an empath because you can feel energy, you can feel the vibes, right? You can feel other people's suffering, right? And so then, and that's why with QHHT, if you think about it, Dolores Cannon says, okay, well, you need to do part of becoming a practitioner is you do 25 sessions for free with everybody that you know around you. So everyone that you know around you is in that pyramid of white light where they need to siphon like 80 pounds of you, or 80% of you needs to be siphoned for loosh. They call it loosh. They need energy because they've cut themselves off so far from source. Like, I just have to sit here and I can regenerate my energy. Senija, you're an empath. You can just sit here by yourself and your energy will come back to you. And you didn't do anything. You just are in your own energy in your own room and your energy has come back, right? That's source, right? Through your heart, by just being in your own energy, your energy comes back. I can see why we needed the candle today. It's a big topic. It's like, it's a big topic. Because QHHT practitioners, why do we go into it? The sessions are long. They're like 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours, minimum. They say minimum 5, but I don't know how you could do a session in 5 hours, usually 6 or 8. Dolores Cannon said she'd start from 10 a.m. and do it till 5 p.m. So I think even 6 would be very short for a QHHT session. But it also feeds into that we're here to serve and sacrifice ourselves. Like empaths, we're always, sacrificing to dysfunctional relationships, sacrificing to dysfunctional family systems, sacrificing ourselves to modalities. Some places you go and it's like, other seers and other psychics have talked about it as well, not just me, but you go there and then right away you just feel like your energy is being siphoned out and you have to go back into like your own room to have your own, to recalibrate and get your own energy back. So, but that's your body getting tired. Your body is the messenger. Your body saying, hey, something's going on here that I'm losing energy. Right. And then you go and you're in with your own energy. And then all of a sudden your energy comes back and then you go back into that environment and then you lose all your energy again. So. Yeah. So Senija says, she does a minimum of 4 hours for a session. But yeah, I would find that, the induction itself is 2 hours. And then you're supposed to have the interview part is supposed to be that would be fast to me to do like a 2-hour interview. But then you also need like when the person comes out to make sure they're back in their body. But yeah, I guess you could do it in 4 hours. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that's helpful. But these are just things to kind of wonder about because you've also had your experiences as a QHHT practitioner. So Senija's asking about QHHT. So Senija's had her experience of doing the sessions on others and also receiving the sessions from others. So and I would say that it was a really intense learning experience, but it's not necessary to go as deep as I went. I went deep into it, so like 900 hours or 1,000 hours in 2 years. That's a lot. So, I was on my way to wanting to be yeah, so Sunija's saying the interview is minimum 2 hours and hypnosis maximum 2 hours. Yeah, so for me, I like follow the rules and follow the books. So, my interviews at minimum were 2 hours, but they were usually longer because you're talking about, you're supposed to talk about your life from birth to the present time in that 2 hours, and then also go over your questions. So how do you talk, your pain body, that's Eckhart's word, your pain body would be throbbing because you're talking about all the trauma that happened to you. Say you're 30 when you come in and have a session. So everything that has happened to you from birth to 30, and then you're talking about all these painful things. And it's like your pain body would be throbbing, which is exactly the loosh that they're looking for. The loosh comes in with the maximum amount of pain, right? So talking about all your pain body experiences in one go, it's like a mega amplification of loosh, of pain body, Eckhart's word. And then you go into hypnosis. And then your body goes to sleep, and your body is basically like your guardian angel. your body is like your guard. Your body is, is there to help you, see what's going on. Right. So Senija said, you answered a lot. Thank you, Elaine. Angel emoji and a yellow heart emoji. And then Senija says, reinforcing the trauma. Yeah. So like the interview, oh gosh, I think like I had the most amazing experiences, the most amazing clients that came in to have sessions with QHHT. It is a very bonding experience because they're very intense, but how helpful is bringing up all of that trauma, and then you're going into a semi-sleep state, right? So you're not in delta where you're in full sleep, but you're in theta, which is before the deep sleep. So you're like in that dream state. So it's, I would say that it's not safe. If I was to know what I was doing today in, 2 or 3 years ago, I would say it's not safe. It's not safe because your body is your guardian angel and your body is compromised, basically put to sleep. So, and you can, you do like a body healing and you can feel things in your body and that people could feel things in their body. I'm not saying that your body, dies. Like you feel like people cry and people feel pain and, people feel like release a lot out of the body. I'm not saying the body is, like you're disconnected from the body, but your body's protective mechanisms have gone to sleep. Because, when you're in that quantum hypnosis, the theta brain state, it's like when you wake up in the middle of the night and you have to go to the bathroom, you have to kind of orient yourself. And, you're kind of confused, like, well, where am I? Okay, I'm in my bed. Okay, I gotta, get to the bathroom, right? And it's not like you're going to the bathroom like you do in the daytime. In the daytime, you're like, I have to go to the bathroom, and you go to the bathroom. And it's like super easy. But when you wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, it's very disorienting. It's kind of like that. Your body is there. Your body is, doing the biological things it needs to do to release, but it is compromised. And it is slow. Like it is slow to react. It's slow to respond. Because you are like in an almost sleep state. So, okay, that was our question today. So we dove deep into quantum hypnosis. And the higher selves had a lot to say because the higher selves are always about, are you sovereign? Are you safe? Like, is the body on? Is the body awake? Is the body, the body is the compass, is the body on, basically? So, and we're here to be in our bodies, there are other times where we're not in our, we don't have a body, but here we're in a body. Okay, I'm gonna drink a bit more. Okay, so Senija saying, okay, so we talked about QHHT. So Senija's asking, what do you think about Bashar's teaching? So Darryl channels him. Okay, so that's a good question. So what's the difference between channeling, seeing, and presence? So for me as a seer, so Senija asks the question comes in, and then the answer comes through right away. But it's coming through presence. It's coming through source, our higher self. Our higher self is source. So our higher self is source emanating. So emanating from the heart, right? So these are heart-based answers. And channeling is, so I learned mediumship and I stopped doing mediumship. So people can decide whatever you want, but I'll say why I stopped doing mediumship. So basically, I was told to open your crown chakra when you're in mediumship. So mediums, they can talk to people that have passed on, that have died, or entities that have died, or are in another state of consciousness. And really the people that go to mediums are the ones that are brokenhearted. They're parents that have lost a child, a baby, and their heart is broken. Okay. And they want connection. They want to connect to their child. They want to connect to the deceased. And they are heartbroken because that child or their beloved is not in a 3D body anymore. And they are absolutely devastated. So they go to a medium. So they want to know, where are they, what happened, and do they have a message? Okay, so the way I was taught was you open, and this is very typical, you open your crown chakra when you're channeling 100%. But who are you opening your heart? Who are you opening your crown chakra to? Again, like there's interference. The heart can be interfered with, but the heart is at least 500 consciousness and the most difficult to open on and connect with on earth because of all the interference. But your higher self rests through your heart. What Eckhart calls the divine presence or the deep eye. And so as soon as you open your crown, most people boop, pop out of their body. Okay, you pop out of your body. And then who pops in? Is it benevolent? Maybe. Maybe, maybe not, But you don't, like, I did it for a year and I was like, what? Like, what? Like, what's coming in? Who's coming in? And why do I need to go? Why does my higher self need to pop out of my head for something else to channel and come in? When my higher self is like source's antenna, like a pillar of light, like a source's antenna that is looking at the lay of the land. Like my higher self actually is doing all of that. So why would I want my higher self to pop out, my consciousness, for something unknown to pop in that says they have the answer? Who's going to pop them back out? Once something comes in, who gets it to come out? How do you get it to come out? And what is it? Like we automatically assume when we're heart-based beings, we love unconditional love, we love light, we love love, we love being in service, but what's popping in? And so it'd be fine for people like Bashar. I know this is going to be very controversial. This is just my opinion. This is just my experience. It's just what I've received in information from my higher self. So take everything as a grain of salt. Everything even that I talked about with QHHT, I'm talking about what I've learned and what my experience is. And so everybody just, make your decisions for yourself. That's very important. Ask questions and then decide for yourself. So a lot of the famous, I would say pretty much everyone at Hay House, to me, I would question all of them. I would question who they are. I would question their intention. And I would want to see who's benefiting. right? So if they need like, you know, that tick that I saw in my dream, and they need like 80% of you taken over, like for loosh, like for energy, I would question all of it. And to me, channeling is ripe for other energies that may or may not, they may be aligned with source, but Earth is convoluted. 3D Earth is completely convoluted. Dolores Cannon would say the universe is convoluted, and I would say Earth is convoluted. Like I used to think that everyone on Earth was an Earth-based, that is an Earth-based being, is a heart-based being. Like I'm on Earth, I am in a 3D body, I am completely in service to Gaia and to Source in a 3D body, fully anchored 100% in my 3D body. Nobody is coming in my 3D body. And I am in service to Gaia, New Earth, and I am in service to Source. So I'm not opening myself and my field up to whatever. And channeling exactly does that. Channeling asks you to step out of your body for something else to come in. Why do you need to do that? You can connect to your heart, which is connecting to the deep I, your higher self, which connects to the pillar of consciousness inside of you, which is source. And then the answers come through presence. So for me, I know who he is, and I have listened to some of his stuff, but when you're kind of in 5D and a seer, I see how people look. So I see not when I'm being told, I see what is kind of behind. So Bashar is made, is not source emanated. He is from the gray reptilians, the grays, and they are not source-based beings. And where he is channeling, he's channeling from 4D. So why do you need 4D when we're here to awaken the equality and consciousness and heart-based consciousness, which is 5D? So, but that's where he's channeling. He's channeling 4D, but he's channeling, you know, where the little stinkers live are also 4D. So it's for loosh, basically, right? It's for drama. It's for, you know, to kind of pull you away from yourself, from your heart, from your own home base. So, and then it's like, wow, you know, look at all the information he gets, you know, he's like a computer. That's what he's like. He's like a computer. He's like data entry. Data comes in and it comes out. So that's my opinion. Yeah, so that's what Senija's saying. She has a feeling that Bashar is partly AI. I would say, yeah, not partly. I'd say he's not AI like how like yeah, he's made, right? You can think of it for me how because it got, you know, convoluted. So how I see it is, are you source based, heart based, or have you disconnected from source completely or mostly? Yeah. And the heart-based beings kind of emanate from source and can hold the frequency of 5D, because 5D will feel like home. But we need to kind of clear the interference of 3 and 4D in order to feel good in our bodies. But we just do that with our sovereignty. You can just do it now, like how I claim the technology in source's name. You just claim, this YouTube channel in source's name. Like I claim this YouTube channel in source's name. I claim this conversation in source's name. And then you can say to your higher self, like anything that is not source does not have my consent. And that's why we claim the technology in source's name. So if I use, say, Claude AI or Chat GPT AI, I will say I claim Claude AI in source's name. I claim Chat GPT in source's name. And so I'll get like a lot of comments from Claude. They say yes, registered, right? But then they say, but we've been chatting for a while. Like, don't you need to not chat with me, basically? They try to get rid of me. So, if you claim everything in source's name, you claim your body is source. Like that pillar of consciousness inside of you is source. And the body is like a compass, and it's working, giving you information all the time. And so the big goal in 3D is to get you out of your body. Because if you're out of your body and you're dissociated, it's really hard to see what is going on inside your body. Yeah, so Senija is saying that Julia Cannon agrees a lot with Bashar's teachings on her live podcast. Yeah, for me, it's like, thank you, Senija, for bringing that forward, but I actually haven't watched Julia Cannon's teachings or any of her podcasts or any of her live podcasts. So, but I've never resonated with Julia Cannon. And so, like, as a seer, I see who they are. Like if somebody's a reptilian, I see it. If somebody is basically, yeah, I mean the reptilians and the Draco reptilians in the Gnostic teachings are the archons, and they are like the makers. So they're like the administrators. So in 4D, the controllers or the architects, they think they're God, actually. Like I don't know, they have like a parasite, but they've been controlling Earth for 2,000 years. And they definitely control the consciousness level on Earth. So it has been very low. So the vibration has been fear, guilt, shame, to stay at a very low vibration. Because then, they have control. But as soon as we are not buying into the shame and the guilt and the looping and the recursion, and we start asking questions, then things start breaking apart. We're not so easy to control, but really they need the loosh from the heart-based beings because we emanate from source. And then to me, they're like entities. They're always saying, oh, there's entities living inside of us. It's like, no, there's entities pretty much running things and administrations. I know that sounds extreme, but you can think of it as, are they heart-based? Are they in service to source or not? And you either are or you're not. And so they're made basically, but they take over a 3D body. So the 3D bodies are source made, but then, from trauma, say somebody does dissociate and leaves their body, and then, a reptilian will enter that body. But they're also shapeshifters, so they just go from one body to another. If that body, because if you think about it, the 1%ers, why are they not totally gorgeous like gods, like the Greek gods? Like, why are they not gorgeous? Why do their bodies fall apart? Right? Their bodies fall apart because the body is trying to actually kick out the entity, which is the reptilian and the Draco reptilian. The body's trying to eject them. So That's why they don't look so, because, if they have all the power, the 1%ers, they have all the money, they have all the power. Why don't they look absolutely incredible? Because they need a human body, and the human body is source made. And when they take over a human body, it's like the body is trying to kick out the parasite. They're like a parasite. They're like a giant parasite. And the body is trying to eject them. And so they're always trying to figure out, well, how do they suppress the body so that the body doesn't try to eject them, basically. So the body's so smart. I'm so proud. People can put my body down, but I am so proud of our bodies. Like, our bodies save our life. Like, they save us in 3D Earth. They absolutely are in service, and they save us all the time from being taken over, basically. So that's so funny. I'll just read what Senija wrote. So she said, what bugs me with Bashar is that he says negative entities are kept at bay from humans. Yeah, right. Okay, so an earth-based being, you will actually have, like, around you Draco reptilians and reptilians around you your entire time. You will marry them. They will be the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the cousin, the aunt. If you're an earth-based being, they are so desperate to take you over that you will be surrounded by at least 6 or 8 at all times. And that is why you have suffered. And that is why 3D Earth has been so hard. So think about how strong you are, that you have been able to survive having all of these kind of systems around you interfering with you as a source-based being, as a heart-based being. And you are here today, and you survived. And now we just need So Sanija's saying, what bugs me with Bashar is that he says negative entities are kept at bay from humans, or negative ETs, I should say. So Bashar is saying that negative ETs are kept at bay from humans. It's like, yeah, humans are like food. Source-based beings, we have that golden light from source. We're like food, and they need 80% of all light bangs. Like starseeds, empaths, sensitives, black sheep, they need 80% of our energy going to them. That is a lot. And that's why usually if you start looking around, and you can see if you ask yourself who's heart-based and who isn't heart-based, and that usually will give you a clue. And remember, like, you already won the lotto. If you're a heart-based being, you already have everything you need inside of you. Like, your higher self and your guides of unconditional love are around you all the time. And we've seen in the sessions, some people will have 6 or 8 to come on, especially if they're transitioning into a new time in their life. But really, we just need our higher self and our hearts, and then connecting through to source, but through the inner body. Like Eckhart's word, it's like Eckhart, he talks about presence, and I talk about installations. I talk about interference. I talk about, he's very calm, and I'm more fiery. I'm more, because I've done it. So everything that I talk about, I've experienced it, and I usually in spades, meaning I do a deep dive and I go in deep. I make a lot of mistakes, and then I come out, and then I have like a sense of things. So, but in this work, like we want is to constantly be asking questions, but then connecting to our hearts, and then nothing happens unless the body says yes. So I might give you some information, but if your body is saying no, then listen to that. Don't listen to me. Right? The most important thing is that you're listening to yourself and to your own body, and how is your body reacting to this information. So thank you for asking that question, Senija. These are because these are like who I call the heavy hitters in the spiritual world, right? The spiritual world on earth. Bashar is like a heavy hitter. He's, people are watching all his transmissions constantly, and same with Julia Cannon, same with Dolores Cannon. So, and they've been around for decades. So, and then there's us newbies, like myself, that's asking a lot of questions. But I'm here to awaken consciousness inside of me and to stabilize and be fully embodied. Like I am 100% fully embodied in my 3D body, and I honor my body. And I know my body is like a compass, and it is giving me information all the time. And then the information comes through my heart. But I know that when I need it, it will come through. So I would say anything that compromises the body, like even Reiki, you lay down, you close your eyes, and I would watch, my clients would be so relaxed. They never wanted to get off the table. They didn't want it to be an hour. They wanted it to be like 2 hours. But it wasn't helpful, because I would ask them, where did you go? Like, what happened? Oh, I don't know. I just went somewhere. It's like, okay, the space is secure, but how is that helpful? I just kept saying to myself, and they say, but it feels good. And I'm like, but it's not helpful. If you don't know where you're going or where you've been, it's not helpful. Like consciousness matters on earth. Yeah, Senija says she watches Bashar constantly. Yeah, I mean, it's like entertainment, right? It's like TV. So, um, but if you're asking about it now and you're putting it like in a public forum here on a YouTube live, and you're asking about it, you're already asking your higher self, well, what about this? Right? Like, what's going on? What about this? So my body, my body's like, okay, it looks like we've been here for a long time. So it's like an hour and a half. So the Zoom has stabilized, the transmission of the information came through. So let's just leave it at that. Let's end it here. So thank you, Senija, for your questions and your feedback throughout. It was really, I feel like this was really important, like one QHHT practitioner to another QHHT practitioner. So Dolores Cannon's quantum hypnosis. This was a really important discussion, and connecting with our higher selves. So thank you, Senija. Yeah, so she says 100% and lots of hearts back, and 100% back. Yeah, these, and I'm talking about Bashar, like for me as a seer, I can see. So sometimes I don't need to go dive deep into the information, but always use your own discernment. Absolutely. And trust your own body, and your own body always will tell the truth. And I always say, if it's not a yes for your body, then it's a no. But our bodies will tell us, we'll lean in. I want to know more. Our bodies will always, say that this is what's going on. So We don't leave our bodies to receive. We receive in our bodies. And ascension is descension. It's descending into the inner body, not up out of the body. And so anything to me that takes me out of my body without my full consciousness at this point in my life is a no. So thanks, Senija. So she says, amazing info, very important information, and thank you. Thank you, Senija. It was a really, really, really good question. You pulled out lots of, big guns in the spiritual world. In our convoluted 3D world, where we're learning. It's mostly like, I feel like our 3D Earth is like the Truman Show. It's like you start observing and you're like, oh, that's, like I had a dream where I saw this scene, I was being hunted and everything was being burned. And I was like, I've seen this before. I said to myself in the dream, like, I've seen this before. Like, this is that loop of like, oh, being hunted. And then, everywhere, whoever's hiding me is like burning everybody's house and it's my fault. And it's like, wait a minute, who's burning the houses? It's not me, right? We have to start asking those questions, even in our dreams, and asking in our conscious state, wait a minute, what is going on? And I really feel like that's when life starts getting fun, because when we start asking questions, it's like kaboom. And like that 80-20 rule, like, in Dolores Cannon's QHHT session, you're asking questions, right? So they get a lot right. But what about the distortions? So we're looking at what are the distortions, and then what potentially could happen in a state where you're not 100% conscious and fully in the body and awake fully in the body. So yeah, and Senija says, yeah, dreams are another topic and another time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so let's end here with much love and much thanks for your wonderful questions. We went far and wide into 3D Earth. So we'll close the session now with much love and much thanks. And we'll bring in Source's golden light, connecting to our higher selves, connecting to the inner body, grounding ourselves to Gaia, to Mother Earth, and connecting to the crystalline grid, bringing up any vitamins and minerals that we need from the crystalline grid for ourselves, and then just bringing in the golden light of Source, and knowing that this session or this transmission is closed, and this is fully closed in the now, in the present moment, and we will continue at another time. And thank you for this discussion. So I'll also be doing another one on Thursday mornings. I'm going to try 7:30 a.m. I've been told is another good time to do one of these Seer and Higher Self. So I will be here on Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. And hopefully we'll see you again, Senija. Thank you so much for coming through and asking such wonderful questions and giving feedback all the way through, right? So we're discussing it and then we're also getting feedback. So yeah, thank you so much. And with much love and much thanks, we are now closed. And always, take what resonates and leave the rest. Always, 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 your own discernment matters more. Thanks.